to create a simple accounting system using Microsoft Excel. We will start with opening a blank Microsoft Excel workbook. So we just open a blank Microsoft Excel workbook. Then we change the name of the first tab. Instead of sheet 1, we will change it to a journal ledger. So to do that, you just double click and type whatever name you want. So in this case, we wanted to name it journal-ledger. Later, I will explain to you why it is named journal ledger. So let's start with our journal, combine journal and ledger. Start with the date. Of course, journal says date, columns, particulars column, and we have our assets. So we can have cash on hand. Our assets will also include cash in bank. Of course, if you have cash in bank, you can have cash in bank number 1 and cash in bank dash 2. So in actual practice, this cash in bank 1 could mean a different bank, and this bank 2 is also a different bank. Or it could also mean that these two are in the same bank, but but bank 1 and bank 2 has a different account numbers. So aside from cash, your company can also have accounts receivable. Your company will also have inventories and office supplies. So I guess that's enough for our assets. So let's merge this to signify that all of these are assets. And to better clearly see all of them, you can highlight and fill with something light. And aside from assets, we will also have our liabilities, of course. Your liabilities would include accounts payable and let's just have two loans payable. So let's combine this, highlight, and let's change color. So you have your assets, liabilities, you have your equity. Your equity includes ordinary shares, share premium, and retained earnings. For equity, you have ordinary shares, share premium, and retained earnings. Merge this. Okay, let's change this color. Okay. And highlight. So you just double click to show all the contents of that columns. So we have assets, liabilities, equities. We are presenting our journals in order in which we show, or we arrange rather, our chart of accounts. So our chart of accounts starts with assets, liabilities, equity. Then you have income or revenues, and of course expenses. So for revenues, of course, you have your sales, and you might have other income. For expenses, of course, you have your, If you have sales, of course, you have your cost of sales. You have your salaries, of course, salaries expense. Of course, you pay rent. When you have loans, you have to pay interest. And this interest expense. And let's just add miscellaneous for now. Miscellaneous expenses. So all of these are revenues. So let's merge. Let's change colors so it's easier for us, especially for you viewers to see. And expenses also to signify that all of these are expenses. So we merge this and all expenses color something different. Okay, again, to show all the contents, you just highlight and double click. Okay, now if you are here, you're not able to see the description. For example, for the miscellaneous expenses here, you're not able to see for what date and what's the description. So to solve that issue, you go back to our first item here under cash and bank. So always remember, you put your cursor below your header before clicking the view ribbon, freeze panes, and choose freeze panes. So we are freezing this portion and the header portion. Okay, so now when we go to our miscellaneous part, miscellaneous expense, we are still able to see the date and the particulars. So we will do some formatting now. For our date, we format. So click the date column, letter B column, right click, format cells, and we choose date. We will choose this day, month, year, the second one. So to check, let's say our transaction is July 1, July 1st. So you just press 7/1 and enter. You now have the date, month, year, 1st of July 2020. So for example, if our particulars, we started our company 1st of July, so we have opening balances. Okay, opening balances. Let's say you have 50,000. So if you look at your 50,000 here, it's not yet formatted. So we format it one time for all of our accounts. So to do that, highlight, click from D, just highlight up to all our accounts. Then go back here in home ribbon. Under general, you click comma style. So now our figures are in money value, 2 decimal places. So let's do this. To make this simple accounting system functional, this journal ledger here must have a checking figure. Let's call this checking figure a balance. This journal ledger works by converting debits and credits into positive and negative. Okay, let's not confuse those who are watching this video for the first time. Let me clarify. Debits are not positive and credits are not negative. This rule only applies in this particular accounting system that we are creating. This is just to make things simple. So again, we will convert all our debits to positive and all our credits to negative. To make it clear, let's assume that our opening balances, we have 1 million, cash in bank 1, 2 million, cash in bank 2, 2 million. Let's assume that, okay, let's make this 2 million. Let's assume that we don't have accounts receivable yet, no fee supplies yet. Let's also assume that we don't have liabilities. So ordinary shares, let's say to have all of these assets, the company issued 2 million ordinary shares. Let's assume it's 1 per par value. So you have 2 million. So that means if your total assets here is 5 million, that means if your ordinary shares is 2 million, your share premium is 3 million. Okay. Since this is start of the business, of course, we don't have retained earnings yet. Okay. Let's look at our balances. Our assets here is 1 plus 2 plus 2 million equals 5 million. Liability 0. Equity is 2 million plus 3 million. So our equation is balance. If we go to our balances here, our formula should be, we click this auto sum. Once we click auto sum, if you look at here, it will look for all the money values. So it sums D4 to U4. Then click enter. So now, our balance here is 10 million. Again, to make it clear, so you have auto sum. And once you click the auto sum, it captures the sum of our cash on hand up to the sum of miscellaneous expense. Then click enter. So now it's 10 million. Of course, we have assets 5 million and equity 5 million. This is where our balance will work as a check figure. You will know that that what you're doing is correct if your balance here is 0. That's where we put in assets positive, liabilities and equity negative, revenue negative, expenses and cost of sales positive. So again, we convert debits to positive and liabilities to negative. So these ordinary shares will become a negative 2 million. These share premiums will become negative 3 million. So now our check figure is 0. Okay, let's try adding several transactions. Let's assume that all of these happened in July 2020. So to add a new transaction, you just simply type the date. You don't have to write all the numbers since we already formatted this. So if this is the 3rd of July, so you just press 7/3 and enter. Let's assume that on the 3rd of July, you purchase 2 million worth of inventory on account. So purchases, let's just say purchases on account. This is from ABC company, for example. Enter. Can move this one. Then, so if we purchase, say 1 million, 1 million. So just now we said, if it's debit, it's positive. So our inventory will increase by 1 million, and our accounts payable will also increase by 1 million. So to do that, you just press negative sign and click the amount in inventory. Our purpose of doing that is that if we wanted to have changes in inventory, amount here will automatically change. So for example, if this inventory is only 850,000, your accounts payable also will follow 850,000. So let's check our balance here. We haven't formatted our balance yet. To format, you just drag this down and it's still 0. So it's okay. Let's test. For example, if we forget to link our inventory with our accounts payable, so let's delete this. So we will see that our balance is over by 850,000. So the rules of debits and credits and the double entry accounting system applies here. So for every debit amount, there must be a corresponding equivalent credit amount. So it's minus, then click here and enter, and our balance is again 0. So let's assume another transaction on the 5th of July. So 7/5. 7/5, 5th of July. We sold on account to XYZ, our favorite company in accounting, XYZ and ABC company. So we sold, say, we sold on account to XYZ for, let's say, 3 million. Oops. 1.5 million, rather. 1.5 million. So our entry is debit accounts receivable, credit, sales. So debit accounts receivable, positive, credit, sales. So go to sales, press negative, and choose this and enter. So debit accounts receivable, positive, credit, sales 1.5 negative. Our balance is 0. Okay. Next, since we are using the cost of sales account here, so that implies that what we are using is the perpetual method of accounting for our inventories. Therefore, for every sales transaction, there must be a corresponding transfer of inventory to the cost of sales. Again, these are all just assumptions. So if the sales happen in July 5, cost of sales must also be recorded in July 5. So this is the cost for XYZ company. Let's assume that uh, we double the price of the cost as our selling price, meaning it's selling cost times 2 or 200%. So that means if we sold 1,500,000, 750 is the cost of sales. So it's 750,000. 750,000. So this is our cost of sales. It's an expense account, so it's debit 750,000. Then this time our inventory will decrease. So it's credit inventory 750,000. Check figure is still 0. So that means our entry is complete. Okay, let me repeat that. When our balance is 0, that doesn't mean that our entry is correct. Correct. It simply means our entry is complete. Just like the typical trial balance. When the total debits are equal to total credits, that doesn't mean that all our entries are correct. It only means that the total debits are equal to total credits. Okay, let's assume further. Let's have several transactions. So on July 6th, say we paid, let's use these other transactions. We paid rentals. So rent for June. Let's assume July rather, that we are paying every 6th of the month. So July 2020, let's say our rental is 100,000. So let's put 100,000 here. So we deduct cash, credit cash, and the debit is rent expense. So minus. So it's, if we press negative for it changes to a negative sign. If we press negative, and if we connect it with the negative figure, of course, needless to say, it becomes positive. So again, our check balance is 0. So you now have expense here. Okay, so on the 10th of July, let's assume that we purchase again from ABC company, say 3 million inventory. So if it's purchases on account, of course, it's credit accounts payable. Let's check again. It's still equal. On July 15th, we paid salaries and wages. Let's assume we paid our salaries for 150,000. Of course, this will be deducted from our cash. So less 150,000. Okay, I guess by now we have enough transactions. Okay, our next step is to create balances for all these accounts. To do that, you have to click auto sum here, click enter. Then we will format this. Here we choose the border, which is top and double bottom border. Then click. Okay. Now 1 million. So we will just drag this. Your mouse here, drag all the totals, and you have now balances for all your accounts. That's the reason why we call this journal ledger. We have journals on this part, and you have your balances, which corresponds or which serves as your ledger balances for all your accounts. So that's the reason why we call this portion your journal ledger. We can now move on to our first financial statement, which is the income statement. So let's create a new sheet. So again, to rename, just double click and let's name this income statement. Okay. Of course, our income statement has names. So for example, this is um, Jack Daniel Company, and the name of the financial report. So let's start with the income statement, and for the month ended July 31, 2020. So we have our revenue, sales, less cost of sales is your gross profit. So basically, I am encoding this portion. So we will not talk about the aesthetics first. We're just concerned with the connection. Sorry, the connection between your income statement here and your journal ledger here. Okay, let's connect our sales. If you'll observe, we have a rule where all the credits are designated as negative and all the debits are designated as positive. So you have here sales 1,500,000. If we link it here, again, our purpose is to create an accounting simple accounting information system where from your journal you will have your financial statements. If you connect that sales, for example, here you will have a negative sales, but we don't have negative sales in our income statements. So to do that, we just press negative, go to the journal, and click again your total sales. Again, we are getting balances. This is equivalent to ledger balances. So click the balances and then enter. So you now have a positive income or sales rather, positive sales. So let's connect our sales, cost of sales. Since cost of sales is debit, so it's positive. So you just press equals, go to our journal ledger and link this cost of sales. Since our formula here is sales less cost of sales equals gross profit, so it's equals to sales minus cost of sales. So you have a gross profit of 750,000. So we'll have to put a border here and click bottom border. So we now have the gross profit portion. Next, we will have less operating expenses. We have a few expenses here: salaries, rent, interest, and miscellaneous. So we'll just copy this. Salaries, rent, interest, and miscellaneous. Control C or copy. Go back to your income statement. We don't want to copy the format, the colors. So you just go here, right click in any part of the income statement portion, then press values only. So we did not copy the colors, the field. Then we will line up all our expenses here. So Control C, right click here, and transpose. So you now have the list of all the expenses. Then we can delete our source. Okay. So since operating expenses are all debits, so we just click equals, then link. So you have salaries, interest, rent expense. So you just click the total rent expense. Then you have to link the interest. Even if it's zero, you just click the rows for the total interest expense. So miscellaneous, you just click it here, miscellaneous. Okay, so we now have total expenses. So here, bottom border, so we will just press auto sum to sum up all our expenses. You now have total expenses. Okay, so you now have gross profit less operating expenses is equal to net income for the period. So again, net income is gross profit less total operating expenses. So your net income is 500,000. Let's do double rule that. Okay. And format bold, center this portion, merge and center, merge and center, merge and center. After we have created our income statement, we can uh, proceed with our next financial report, which is the statement of changes in equity. So let's create a new sheet. Just click this plus button, click, then you have to double click this, just name it equity. It's faster to go copy all of this, enter, and we just change the name to statement of changes in equity for July. The month ended July 31. So our equity is comprised of ordinary shares, the particulars here. Basically, for those who are watching, you just copy the template first. So particulars, ordinary shares, share premium, retained earnings, and you have your total equity. You have your beginning balances. For our beginning balances, let's check our journal. So we have ordinary shares. Again, since we use negative to signify credit, but in our statement, of course, we will not be using the negative signs. So we will connect it via minus sign. So minus, then click ordinary shares, then click enter. So we now have positive ordinary shares of 2 million. Share premium again, negative. Click and click share premiums 2 million. Of course, since we just started operation, so we don't have retained earnings yet. So you just click here, go here and click auto sum. So you have 5 million. Then you will write all the possible transactions that will happen that will affect equity. So of course it's additional investments, and you will also have your income for the year. Income or loss. Since this is a accounting system, so we don't know the results of the operations. So you just put there, if it's negative, it's a loss. If it's positive, it's an income. So of course, we don't have additional investment yet. We can link the income. So income is closed in retained earnings. So equals, then link it to the income statement. So now I have 500,000, enter, under retained earnings. Again, incomes in net income is being close to retained earnings. Therefore, at the end of the year, this income coming from the income statement, click the income statement, will be close to retained earnings. So we will format bottom border. We will copy this total bottom border. So we have now balances at year end. So you can click auto sum 2 million and double rule top and double bottom border. Okay, then click and drag. Okay, so we can have it formatted bold. Okay, so we just finished our statement of changes in equity. After we've done our statement of changes in equity, our last financial statement for the part 1 of this video is the balance sheet. So to create a balance sheet, again, click this plus sign to create a new tab. Then double click this and we change this to balance sheet. Then we copy the heading here. Of course, we change the name of the statement, income statement, to balance sheet. Income statements are for the period, while balance sheet is for a moment of time, or as of moment in time, as of July 31. So going back to our journal, we will copy all our assets, cash on hand and bank up to office supplies. So we'll copy this, right click, Control C. Go back to our balance sheet, right click here, and values only, then copy and transpose here, transpose. Okay, we can delete this now and we name these assets. So you have your assets. We will also copy our liabilities. We only have two liabilities here, so we just encode it. Accounts payable and loans payables. We just recode accounts payable and loans payable. We you have your liabilities. And you have your equity. Your equity has 1, 2, 3. So we copy this and transpose. Choose transpose. So you copied all your equities. We can now link our balance sheet with our journal and ledger. Okay, for cash on hand, since all our assets are debit, we can just press equal for all of this. Equal cash on hand. Remember, connect the balances. Cash in bank 1, cash in bank 2, accounts receivable. Click inventory. Click office supplies. Even though it's zero, you just click the balance. So you can now put here total assets. Auto sum, enter. Then we can format our total assets with this top and double bottom border. So we can make this bold and bring this down. Bring this up. Click here, right click, insert. Okay. Then we link our accounts payable. Our accounts payable is in our journal has negative balance. So again, we don't show negative balance here. So we press negative, click journal ledger, and click accounts payable. We do the same thing with loans payable. Minus journal ledger, loans payable. Then press auto sum. We have 3,850 total for liabilities. We choose top and bottom border, not the double. Choose this one, top and bottom border. So you write here total liabilities. Make this also bold. For our equity, ordinary shares, again, credit, so minus. We get our balances from our, this time, not from the journal ledger, but from our statement of changes in equity. So it's already positive. So our balance sheet, we change this, sorry, it should be equal to ordinary shares, enter, equals share premium, click share premium, enter. Retained earnings, press equals, click retained earnings, enter. Then press auto sum and enter. So you now have 5,500,000 top bottom border, type total equities. So you have, make this bold. Then we can have here total liabilities and so equals liabilities plus equity. So your total assets of 9,350 is equal to your total liabilities and equity. So you choose double border here, format, we move total assets on the side. So you now have your balance sheet. Of course, you can make this better. So you have from your journal ledger, we've created income statement, statement of changes in equity, and our balance sheet. So thank you very much for watching our videos, and hopefully you learned something today. Watch out for our part 2 of this video where I will show you comparative statements. I will teach you how to create comparative statements, of course, from using Microsoft Excel, from our journal up to comparative statements, and how to edit if you have uh, other accounts that you wanted to add in that accounting system. So thank you very much for watching our videos. Hopefully you like our videos. Please do share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.